We have Physio Mel in the house to pop and lock and bust a move. How you doing, my friend?
Good, great. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you again.
Did you hear that I did actually set a goal and I paid for it?
I did. I saw that on your socials that you're going to go for a run.
And go for a run. So it's a half marathon, 3rd of May.
Okay.
But I made the rookie mistake of just thinking about the distance, not the elevation before I started. So now it's like half my training needs to be like hiking up a hill and the other half needs to be the distance, so that sort of stuff. But I got guilted into it from our conversations at Christmas time last year, and I went, no. And then I had all this like real high motivation and did it. But you know what? It's actually been good.
That's good.
It's good because, I have been getting out there. Look, high achiever, no, not really. But do you know what? I've turned up.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing. I think that's the hardest thing for everyone to know. It's just like turning up, that's a big tick.
Yeah.
Okay. And I promised myself I'm going to do something at 6 o'clock tonight. And at the same time, I'm like going, please don't get any hotter than what it is. That sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm doing stuff. So I'm happy so far.
That's good. And I think that kind of leads nicely into like our conversation. Today we're going to talk about Pilates. Mm-hmm. But I think from when I think about Pilates, it is that gentle movement, but it's more than just gentle movement, because my understanding historically it was designed by like for ballet and those things. So it's a lot of strength training in there.
That it's a really interesting minefield, absolutely, because there's different types of Pilates. And when people sign up for Pilates, most of us don't. We think it's a thing when they've actually got little subdivisions. And that's also why when you go, well, if I go to a physiotherapist and they give me Pilates, what does that mean? And if someone says, I do stop Pilates, I do pull style Pilates, you're like going, what does that mean? Okay. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the primary understanding is that they set exercises that are associated with increased strength and movement. Yeah. And then we can sort of like delve a little bit deeper into the different things.
Yeah. Okay. So Mel, what does Pilates mean? What's its origin, and what's maybe traditional Pilates versus what we might see in a clinical or a contemporary setting?
Well, the origin really Pilates comes from the Joseph Pilates last name. Okay, and Joseph Pilates was a German who spent some time like during the war, like that in England, and basically he came up with an idea for people recovering from injuries to do bed-bound exercises and things. But he actually joined up springs and things for resistance and stuff. And that's where like our association today with the reformers and that sort of thing like comes from. But that was where that type of design came. And then he ended up moving over to New York and started his own separate routine and called Controlology. And that was like 34 different types of exercises, but they had a definite sequence of what to start with and what to go through with and stuff. And so that's where we will sometimes refer to that as a little bit more classical Pilates. Okay. So I've sort of mentioned something that sounds like reformer. But then the other side of it was sort of a little bit more like the mat work, which is, probably in a more traditional sense as well. It's sort of like some people think of it originally was a little bit more like what we associate with early aerobics sort of type of thing, but very particular. And he got the exercises. He got a mixture of like kung fu and his own ideas and yoga and combined them all together. But really it was from his background in education of things like called gymnastics. And gymnastics in Germany at that point in time is not what we associate gymnastics now with, like all the flips and turns and all the other stuff like that. Calisthenics, stuff, exactly. And even then, you got calisthenics like it is in Australia. No, that's a little bit closer to dance in some ways, that sort of thing. But yes, it's using your own body to provide resistance and also do particular repeated exercises.
Okay.
So that's where the source of that comes from. Then what happened, then he developed his own traditional Pilates, and then that was really more associated with rehabilitation for dancers and stuff like that. Then that's gone out into the mainstream. And then now, so we've got that division between classical and then the contemporary, which is what we're doing now, which is, it's got a lot more flow. People can sort of design it a little bit more to how they want to make their class like it's not regimented.
Yeah.
There are divisions where I was remembering saying that, there are classes of people like, are you STOT trained or are you pole star trained? This doesn't affect the general public when you're turning up to a gym. This is like a little bit more of the clinical side of things.
Yeah, okay.
They were types of Pilates that were an offshoot because they were his original students.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And some of them had more of a dance focus. Some of them decided to have more of a sort of a resistant power focus, etc. And that's basically where those ones come from. But it's all coming from the original source. Yes, it is.
Okay.
So we got that contemporary. Then you've got clinical Pilates. And what's the difference between clinical other than it's in a clinic? There is one fundamental difference, is that when you go to a lot of exercise classes, whether it's Pilates, whether it was aerobics, whether it was anything like that, when you were doing an exercise that was lying on your back, we used to say imprint it or flatten your lower spine onto the ground, okay? Keep your lower back flat. I mean, you must have heard that before, like a lot of people have. Where clinical Pilates tends to focus on more what we call a neutral spine. So what that means is where your spine would normally sit. So it's not completely flat.
Yep.
Okay. It's not completely bent the other way. So it's not duck butt and it's not rounded back.
Yep.
It's that neutral spine. The theory behind that is that, well, we are normally functioning individuals with our normal neutral spine. So shouldn't we strengthen our movements around the position that our spine is normally in? Okay. And there's where it becomes a really interesting thing, because that has a lot more weight in sort of like controlling your core strength in a more functional way.
Okay.
Sort of thing to take out and to normal things. So they're quite different in that way.
Yeah. Okay. So at the end of the day, Pilates is really about rehabilitation and building core strength around our back, our spine, our central system, and outer extremities.
Particularly from the clinical point of view. But otherwise, it's about strengthening. It's they can bring in some more endurance stuff. And now there's things that we haven't not really seen in Australia, but that are coming out of America, where they've actually completely changed what the reformer looks like. And they've even got like little lines and definitions and completely different bands and stuff. And they've just turned it into like these power things that you're like, what?
Okay. That sounds pretty.
It's a bit like
pretty
what they
cool.
did from riding a bike to all of a sudden doing those, exercise classes on bikes in the gym.
And okay, riding a bike, exercise class in gym, and like electric bike with a thumb. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. A question here, which has come through from Tracy, and this ties nicely into, I think, where we were going to go in this spot as well. Tracy is asking, which is better, mat or reformer? So what's the difference between the two, and which would you say is better?
I love this. This is such a loaded question, Tracy, but I love it. So a mat is literally just doing it on the floor. You can have a mat or you can just do it on the floor, that sort of thing. It just means you're not using any equipment, really. Reformer is like this bed type of apparatus which has springs on it that you slide and glide. You're lying on a base, okay? What that does is it reduces friction. You can also increase your resistance by adding on these different springs that have got different tensions and that sort of thing to it. And it's often a lot more of a fluid movement, okay? So it also has straps that you can use and pulley system, basically, but it's all basically done on a spring system. Which is better, mat or reformer? Ooh, really interesting. I personally love the idea of mat.
Yeah.
And just to put it out there to make sure I haven't offended any instructors, including my colleagues, I am actually a qualified Pilates teacher. So I can do it all, wear it all. I like mat. The reason why is the mat, anything that you do that is just your own body requires you to control your core. Yeah. Okay? It requires you to control your own spine. It requires, and generally there's a lot more upright stuff as well. So it's a lot more, I suppose, associated with more of a natural movement, okay? Because the resistance is you and you against gravity, where the reformer doesn't do that. Yeah. However, reformer does allow you to precisely think about just moving, let's say, your leg in space and going, my range of movement in my hip isn't that good, let me work hard on it. Because the rest of your body is supported if you're lying down.
Okay.
So horses for courses again. Reformer's great for rehabilitation, and particularly if you have a significant limitation in a joint or pain and that sort of thing. And once again, I'm wearing my clinical Pilates hat, because you shouldn't be going into a generalised class if you actually have a significant issue, unless you've had a very good conversation with your good instructor so that things can be modified for you. But Pilates is you against you.
Yes.
And there are like some exercises done up to like level 5, and they're hardcore, hard work. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, fantastic.
But great question, Tracy.
Great question. Yes, we've got 2. We'll quickly see if we can get through. One is from Leanne, and Leanne is saying, "Good morning, Doug. Can I ask, is doing a 40-minute reformer Pilates 3 times a week enough to give me good fitness? I really enjoy these video-based workouts at the gym."
Once again, fantastic question. It's sort of like, what sort of fitness? Cardiovascularly, how high and how consistent is your heart rate with the movement? It's got to do with the amount of resistance you're doing. It's got to do with the amount of reps that you're doing. Strength is a type of fitness, but cardiovascular fitness is another one. I mean, plenty of people can do a Pilates class and not actually get their heart rate up and maintain it for a period of time. However, that's a great amount of exercise at all, to get in there and do that, Leanne. So, good. Have a think about how hard you're working, that sort of stuff. And as with anything, what do you do with fitness to progress your fitness? That's what you do. You obviously safely, but do your resistance, but it's got to do with repetition, and it's got to do with exactly that cardiovascular work.
I think you're on a good start and a good track. And if I get into the gym 3 times a week, Leanne, I know my fitness would be good. So, hey, good work there. And then Ben in Ellenbrook is, I'm 12 months on a herniated disc in my lower back. Just wondering if Pilates is the best exercise for me to do to strengthen the back muscles and stop it from happening again.
Ben, this is fantastic, and congratulations. And you're getting to the other side of it generally. Generally, that's the case, and things tend to do well. My advice for this one is get an assessment and get a little bit of a Pilates work underneath a clinician, so that they can individually tell you how to hold yourself when you're going to do something, if you're thinking about then taking that either to do it at home or to do it in a class. This is the thing is with any exercise, right? If you know what is best for you and for your posture, or how to hold your posture, or also the feelings, the internal feelings, does this feel right? And have someone else go, yep, you look safe, this is what you need to do. Apply that advice and then go forth, and you can go out and participate in other things. Do not, when any class, whether it's Pilates or anything else in the entire world, in a class, if it feels wrong, don't participate. Do not let the peer pressure, which is generally self-imposed, guys, but we all do it. I do it. That's the thing. That's part of the reason I turn up to class sometimes, just to make sure, okay, I need to work harder because this person next to me is working harder. But don't let that affect you, because that can exacerbate your injury. But again, a fantastic question, and it's a really good one to start to learn how to control your posture and to prevent that from happening again. No, fantastic. I love it. And good work, Ben, on just asking the right questions. So, Mel, our time's up. Oh my gosh, that was so quick.
I want to do another 4 sessions with you. But hey, what we'll do is we'll get you back in a couple of weeks, and we'll dive into another topic. Thank you so much, and we'll do it again shortly.
Keep moving.
You're with Doug, and you're on Sunshine.